Hi, everyone. This is the November 9th, 2021 meeting of the Conservation Advisory Council. I'm Julie Noble. I'm here as the staff liaison. I will just ask that you remain muted while on the call, unless you're called on. The meeting is being recorded and we will begin, and Emily can start the meeting now.
I want to welcome everyone and thanks for attending today. We've had a pretty busy week with meetings if you've gone to any of them. And so let me see, we don't have any guests right now. So let's go ahead and are there any modifications to the agenda? The only thing that I wanted to make sure the CAC membership is that we cover membership of commissions, if there's any ones we want to move around or anything. So if we can try to remember that. Okay, review of the 2020 meeting minutes.
Yeah, am I muted? No, I'm okay now. Yeah, it looked, all the edits looked okay. The one thing was with the wood smoke. I think, Emily, you asked for some clarification, and I don't think I have it. Because I didn't have the report either. So I was just typing, what I heard.
Okay.
I thought it was fine. I have made some modifications to it.
Okay, so if you're okay with it, and yeah, then I'm okay with it. And Emily, if you're okay, and we'll hear from the other council members, and
And I just wanted to ask, I had added the little information about the traffic roundabout that Helen put in, and I wanted to make sure that was okay to keep it in. It just said that she suggested that or would give us some information.
Yeah,
okay.
That
okay.
Under Foxhall.
Great.
Yeah, that's great, and I love that you acted on that, Emily. Thank you. And as you saw, I sent some extra information about that today.
Yeah. Okay. We can talk about that during the during the letter. Okay. All right. So all right. So I guess we need a motion to accept the minutes as modified.
Yes.
Helen, did you say something? I didn't hear you.
I said I propose that we accept them.
Okay. So just need a second from Ted or Sebastian. Okay, they both did it. So which one everyone want to take? Ted put a 1 up, so I guess he can go.
Okay. You're okay with that, Sebastian? I don't want to. Yeah.
Totally.
Okay.
All right. So the old business is wood smoke air quality subcommittee. I think we had a smell walk during the last month. Does anyone have anything to say about that?
Who wasn't on it?
Did anyone go on it?
No, I missed it.
Yeah, I couldn't make it. Okay. So I guess I would only ask Julie, did you get the report that you talked about, is that something that is going to be published that we will get that you talked about last time?
What report? The one from Bard?
Yeah, the one from Bard.
It wasn't a report. It was a presentation, and I'm happy to share it. If they're willing to share it, I will find out.
Okay.
I would say though that without narration, I'm not sure how helpful it will be.
Right,
It was
okay,
mostly just slides with data, but I will ask them if there's something that they can share.
okay. All right, thank you. All right, so anything, if there's nothing more to say about the smell walk, she's not, is there, then I think we should just go on. So,
One thing about wood smoke, I remember Lorraine had brought up, because we were down by the brickyard and out to the quarry, we were all around in the afternoon. I gave up on the zoning charrette and just, we bailed out. We smelled some wood smoke at the beach by Kingston Point. And I don't know where it was coming from. There was one little fire at Hutton Brickyard. It couldn't have been that. Maybe the people have wood stoves on North Street or something. I mean, I remember Lorraine had brought this up at some point. I'm just like, reminding people. I don't know if it's a thing or not a thing,
Was it during the middle of the day?
No, this was, around close to sunset, 4:30. So it could have been people in their houses starting up wood stoves or something, or fireplaces or something. I don't know.
I wonder if it was anyone having a fire at the beach.
Just one.
Well,
We
we didn't see a fire at the beach. You saw one little fire at the brickyard. And when we were at the brickyard, I didn't smell anything. That was like, no, that looked all right. Smelled all right, whatever. I don't know, just pointing it out. So, I don't have the answer or the, any of it. So if there's
All right.
nothing, or,
and I guess for Helen and Anita's sake, and maybe Ted's,
Yeah.
we did we've had a very active air pollution, especially wood smoke studies, and we have a website, and we've been working somewhat with the building department or the fire department to make sure that the regulations are enforced about outdoor fires and mostly outdoor fires, but also indoor. So that's why Kevin's bringing this kind of thing up.
Are there regulations against burning wood in indoor fireplaces?
No,
No. It's a matter of concern, I see.
yeah, I mean, there are some, some municipalities have banned wood smoke, and there's a lot of information from physicians and so on about the danger of wood smoke. So some bigger municipalities like San Francisco have banned them. As you sit in front of your beautiful fireplace.
This one doesn't work, but I have two that do, so perhaps I need to look into
Anyway.
that a bit more, right?
Okay, going on. So Kingston Forward citywide rezoning, well, that could take the whole night. We've been so busy with all of this. So I guess this was just kind of a information gathering, but we can, so first of all, there have been meetings. Tomorrow night is the big wrap-up meeting for what they found, and that's at 6 o'clock at City Hall. It also is in a Zoom, and kind of along the way, they decided that all these meetings could be by Zoom, and they're not, and none of them are by invitation only. So everything's on the website if you want to attend. So, so does anyone want to? I mean, I guess we can also submit information still if we wanted to, without, besides just verbally doing that. I'm not sure we want to, is anyone interested in doing that?
We probably can if we know what we want to submit to them. I think we've submitted a lot of information on the NRI already. They have the open space plan information. Emily, you sent information this afternoon.
Yeah.
I've sent them other information that might give them, I mean, some of it is like old mapping that they could compare to the present mapping that they're looking at vacant parcels and prior uses. I think they've asked me for a lot of other stuff too, and it's like, I just don't remember right off the top of my head everything I've been involved with Amy and Victor. But you know, we definitely, you know, they're amenable to us sending more information. For sure.
And in addition to what I had already sent them, I also recently sent them the heat island effect data and the impervious surfaces data.
Mhm.
What was the first one? Oh, Heat Island.
And I had a meeting with them and some other urban agriculture folks about the urban ag zoning report, and they're familiar with that. They've read through it.
Yeah, that was discussed in detail at the environmental
environment.
session.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, I think they're getting a lot of good information, and I think we would have liked to have spent more time in the environment meeting on some of the other
Right.
issues like waterfront and so on. But and so even like, that's why, like, I sent in a bunch of information about sea level rise and resilience so that they would be more aware of what's going on, at least in the Hudson Valley.
Yeah, I think they have the McLaren and Weston and Sampson data. I've referenced it repeatedly, and they seem to have it. So I did not resend that. So if they don't have it, we should, that's a whole nother thing, but I believe they do.
Okay.
Yeah. We did that on site, and then I think I had another discussion separately with Amy about it in an earlier phase, but we actually reviewed it on site as we were walking along East Strand.
Right. Okay, does anyone have any comments about what they observed or want to say anything or about the week, this past week? Anita, you're muted.
I sat in on the climate action plan, and I've already said this to Julie, but coming in new to this, I am so impressed with how much planning Kingston has already done in terms of climate change. It's night and day between some of the other places I've been living. It's just amazing. And I'm sure you folks have had things to do with it. So.
Thank you. Yeah. That's great. Thank you. I think, Anita, you made it to the last part of the environment meeting.
Yes, I did.
Yeah, okay. Well, I'm basically, we've given them enough information that some of the important things like treescape and open space and the big areas that are not yet developed is going to be a big help. So, and will be in consideration. So, all right. Well, I hope you can all make it tomorrow. I just want to note that I'm in California. You can tell because it's light out behind myself, but I'm very confused about what time I should attend anything. So I'm setting lots of alarms. I hope I can make it tomorrow. And I'm so glad that they went to Zoom because I wouldn't have been in any of it. Okay. So the city tree planting grant support is the next thing, how we can help identify owners and so on. And so Ted was doing some work, and then Anita went to the tree commission. So do either of you have anything to report on that specific topic?
Well, the tree commission is planning to go out a morning and an afternoon next week. And they've identified several neighborhoods, Foxhall and down Broadway and a couple of conjoining areas. They're going to go pass out pamphlets door to door. And if they meet people, they're going to talk to them, but they're trying to get the word out more. They didn't say anything about whether they had any more requests or not. I know my sister and I both sent in requests, but we'll see.
Yeah, because you have a property with no trees, basically. So, so Ted,
I'd like to ask a question. And forgive me because I'm new to this, but where I am on Fair Street in Uptown, we have lots of trees, which is fantastic. But there's a huge problem, as I'm sure you're all aware, with them pushing up the sidewalk and making the sidewalks very difficult to navigate. With the city tree planting program, is there going to be some sort of mitigation plan about how to prevent or deal with the fact that tree roots inevitably push up the sidewalk and make it uneven? Because I think that's a huge problem here.
I can speak to, oh, you're muted, Anita.
I keep getting that way.
Go ahead.
They actually mentioned that at the meeting today, that there is the cooperative extension, Cornell Cooperative Extension has recommended the use of a material that encourages the roots to go down rather than out. So the tree commission is trying to encourage that use by the city and for their planting purposes. And they've also got listings of tree types that would do well. And they're making that available to folks. One of the people who was asking for a permit today was asking for some recommendations, and they do have those available.
Thank you. And Ted, you had something to say?
Yeah, I was just gonna say that I did call the planning office and I spoke with Kyla there. And she also mentioned that some of the applications, they're at sites that aren't suitable because of tree lawns that are too small. So they are looking at the suitability of the sites, I think, to prevent some of that. And I was also just going to mention, I know that they have certain tree types that are more like tapped straight down than spread out. So I think they're trying to mitigate that in planning style to prevent some of what we have uptown.
Great,
So
that's really good to hear. Thank you.
Ted, did you ever find out if there's more than just the application that they're handing out, that are they providing a flyer?
Yeah, so the planning department has designed a flyer, and they said if anyone visits them, they can print out as many as they want. If anyone did want to do door-to-door outreach, I'm sure they could send that file to electronically. And they, as the staff there, have been doing some door-to-door outreach and scoping out like suitable sites without overhanging utilities and things like that. So they've been leaving flyers indoors, And we also discussed that a lot of their target area is landlord owned, so they may start sending, looking up the landlord's home address and sending them there in case that information's not getting to them.
It's great.
Oh, and also there's, of course, that the original deadline was September 30th, but that's pretty much being extended. They just have to spend the funds by 2023. So they're hoping to plant starting in the spring and hopefully be done by summer. So they're going to keep working on outreach over the next few months. And it sounds like the tree commission is, and I know Corinne DTL, who I think is on the tree commission, she's been doing a lot of door-to-door outreach. And the last, one last thing they said, the map that's referenced, I think in the original press release from the tree inventory is, it's a good jumping off point, but they're open to, across the whole city, if there's suitable sites, they will consider them. That's it.
So I think that right now, unless we want to team up as a CAC and go out door to door also, I think that the best thing is to encourage anyone we know and to get some of the flyers ourselves. So we are aware of what the program is, that what the tree commission is doing, and perhaps some of the aldermen are too. We did write the aldermen, and so hopefully that's our small effort in the scheme of getting more trees planted. Okay, but I did want to ask, I'm gonna only take a tiny bit to answer Helen's question. Today at the preservation stakeholder meeting for the rezoning, there was a huge amount of discussion about the bluestone sidewalks and whether or not they would be taken out if they weren't in the historic districts and so on. And everyone acknowledges that this is an issue with the trees. So when Anita and Ted, I think, spoke about planting new trees, that doesn't do anything for the trees that we already have here. And by the way, I think it's called engineered soils that Anita mentioned. So there is a huge interest in keeping the trees and trying to figure out how, what to do about them bumping up. And it seemed to me that there's a proposal that we might have sidewalk districts that would help sidewalks districts are taxing districts that are separate from everything else to help pay for the upkeep of sidewalks. And there's been talk through Complete Streets that they would do that. And that would come up and then that could be a way to help fund, I think, things
Right.
like, because you can cut some of the roots and replace the bluestone.
So I paid to have my sidewalk reset a few years ago because it was really bad, and it wasn't prohibitively expensive, but obviously a lot of homeowners would not be able to to that. And the problem is that they're just not being maintained at all. And I'm also curious about, it feels like the whole bluestone issue has gotten wrapped up with the tree roots. I mean, tree roots will push up concrete or anything. It's not that there's a separate problem with bluestone, which is that it flakes sometimes, but that's far more minor than the fact that, I mean, I live on a busy corner, and there are a lot of people with kids, with young children who've moved in the last couple of years, and they're all pushing strollers on the street because the sidewalks are in such terrible shape. And I had some guests from the city this weekend, and they're just like horrified. It just feels like there's no maintenance. I've never ever seen, I've been here for 15 years and I don't think I've ever seen any municipal work being done on the sidewalks. Is it just
Yeah,
simply not
That's
the city?
because it's not the city's responsibility. It's the homeowners, and that's why they would be trying to do this district. Julie's shaking her head, yes.
Okay, I'm sorry, and I'm stumbling into an issue,
No,
you know.
that's
trash,
okay.
but,
I
yeah.
know, but the other thing is that there's also this discussion of making sure, Bluestone apparently makes it harder for ADA, Americans with Disability Act accessibility. But I would ask, what the heck is New York City doing? Because they have blocks and blocks and blocks of bluestone also. So, you know, they're saying that, you know, you may have to take it out for that reason. And that, so I made a statement today, and my statement was that, you know, we need to look at the greenhouse gas effect of taking stuff out that's doing fine, or, you know, could be fixed, but it's way better than, you know, moving bluestone that was brought in hundreds of years ago and then putting in concrete, things like
Yeah.
that. So there's got to be some kind of
Amen.
resolution.
Yeah, I don't see why bluestone is particularly an issue for people with disabilities. I mean, yeah, sometimes it does flake a bit, but the main problem is subsidence and rising up because of tree roots. That's what's causing all the trip hazards. And I mean, it's true. I would hate to be. I don't know how anybody would be wheelchair bound in my neighborhood. I mean, they would just have to be out in traffic all day long. I mean, it's terrible.
Mhm.
Anyway, so I can see this is an issue that's already under discussion.
Right.
I'm wondering if it's time to speak with George Profis at DEC again. He's the urban arborist at DEC Region 3. We've had him here before. And
Yeah.
I think the soil he refers to, my notes tell me it's called CU structural soil, a mixture of gravel and soil. And as far as what New York City does, they have arborists, and they sometimes widen the tree pit, you know, start breaking up concrete, and so the roots can grow. I do this. I have firsthand experience with that.
I wasn't talking about the trees. I was talking about the ADA accessibility. So
Right.
I'm sure, you know, it's two things that are both
Right, of course.
issue.
Yeah.
So George Profis attends almost every one of the City of Kingston Tree Commission meetings.
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and yes, he's
that's great.
he's a regular, so he really does provide technical assistance. And so Anita attended today for me. And Anita, do you remember if he was on? He usually doesn't put his video on or anything, so.
I don't know that, no, I don't know that he was
Okay.
there.
So we could have him speak if you want to learn anything more. So let me know, because he is giving advice to the tree commission on a regular basis. So, and kind of weighing in on the choices. I'm just going to bring this up because I'm going to forget. Maybe I brought this up the last time, but the tree commission tentatively kind of started talking about fining based on the girth of the tree, as opposed to it's just one. If you cut down a tree, there's one fine, whether it's this big or this big. So I think that would be something that we could help the tree commission with, to help write that kind of rewrite the ordinance or whatever it is. I'm sorry. Yeah. So I'm just bringing that up now. So we should, but we can follow up with the tree commission. Anita, did they talk about that at all?
No, they did not today.
Okay.
I'm sorry, at the risk of being annoying, there's another issue that I wanted to raise about the trees, and I don't know if this is the right time to talk about. Maybe we could put this on the agenda. The other issue with trees is they keep getting butchered by,
Yes.
Central Hudson. And it raises the whole issue of the amount of wires that are slung above ground all over the place, including all companies and all the wires that are no longer actually used for anything, and then they end up cutting huge bits out of the trees in order to accommodate these things that really should be buried. I mean, this is my one of my bugbears is as a child of Europe, that there's an extraordinary, to me it's a massive eyesore that there's so many badly maintained and slung cables all over the place. But is the tree commission also, do they have some sort of policy about how the trees get cut by the utility companies?
They actually discussed that a little bit today. Because one of the requests we gotten clearly showed unbalanced pruning by Central Hudson. And it seems like they have repeatedly sent requests to Central Hudson to get advice on how to do some of this. And it seems like they've both mostly been ignored.
Right. There's no incentive.
They're going to try again. And I think they said they would also bring it up with the planning commission. Would that be a reasonable thing to do, to approach Central Hudson? Because it's not necessarily Central Hudson themselves that are doing it, but subcontractors who may or may not be very good.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, that's good to know.
It's been an ongoing issue for them, yes.
Yeah, and that's, thank you, Anita. That's really good information. And I guess if they think the planning, since Sue Cahill, who is the liaison for the tree commission, is also the head of the planning department, I guess that bringing it to planning commission would be within their purview. They can always ask us for help too. And the other thing, Helen, is that when someone comes in and wants to cut down a tree and put a new one in, and all these the trees that are for the planting grant, those would all be specified to not grow very tall if they're under wires, or they wouldn't put them in even. So that's the decision. So there is that, they are trying to make that consideration. Okay, anything more else on this? Or can we go on to the plan review? Okay, so let me see. So I sent a letter out as opposed to trying to go through with the whole Flatbush Foxhole Avenue. And I was wondering if we could just get a consensus to send that letter out. And Julie could bring it up on her screen, or I could bring it up on my screen. How many people had a chance to read it? Okay, so I got 3. Julie read it. Helen, did you read it? Because you commented on it.
And what my one suggestion for an edit would be, could we replace that photograph with the one that shows that link I showed today that has that hump in the middle that actually helps a truck make the corner?
That's great.
That's quite compelling. And you know what? I grew up with these things, and I had no idea that that's what the hump was for. I thought it was just to stop people from driving straight across, but it's really cleverly designed. So because one of the concerns that came up last week was, okay, if we put a roundabout, and how is that going to be for trucks? And in fact, it would actually be better. So I think it's great to replace that photograph with the one with the hump.
Okay, and I can reference the study that you gave in the letter too. We could, if that's okay with everyone.
Good,
Um,
good.
and maybe mention adequate. I just, when Julie just wrote that word hump, it came up to me that the pedestrian striping that for crosswalks is called zebra in other places, like in a country in Africa I've been to. And so then when it's raised up, it's called the humped zebra. And I thought that was really funny, and it doesn't have anything to do with what we're doing. But is there any, so do you want to just have time to read it on your screen so we can and add any other concerns? And also, you should refer to Helen's email also about the study and the photograph and stuff.
Can I just ask what the paragraph that begins, we were not able to come to consensus on the intersection, and then we suggest something, it just seems slightly
I
contradictory.
know, I agree. I agree with that. So maybe we should just say as a suggestion for, as a suggestion on the intersection, we suggest, whatever.
Or like say we're not able to come to a consensus on the.
Oh,
when there's,
yeah,
like, multiple versions.
the options,
to choose
yeah.
from, the options.
Mhm.
Right. So, yeah, okay. So we haven't flat out rejected them, but we prefer this other suggestion.
Yeah.
That's what we're saying, right?
Mhm.
Yes,
I think it'd be better to say that.
Yeah. By the way, the other intersection in the city that's like that is the 5-way intersection at the Boulevard and
Oh.
Fair Wall, and that came up at one of the meetings for
Yeah.
the.
I drive through that most days. It's such a nightmare. I don't think that one could, well, maybe it could be sorted with a roundabout, but that's a very tricky junction.
Mhm. Yeah. So is there any other,
I have a quick comment, I think. On the paragraph I highlighted, it says we came to consensus on the proposal for Foxhall, Cornell, and South Manor. I think that's true, but I also is there a reason we shouldn't just say there's only one proposal there? So we should just say that we support the proposed project for that area.
that's a good idea.
Am I changing this part here?
It's the one I highlighted right up above you.
We
That's right.
can't see it, yeah.
Purple, yeah. It says
So we
came-
could just say we support the proposal.
yeah, the proposed new intersection. I think there was only one. I found, am I
Yeah.
right in remembering that correctly? Yeah.
Right. And by the way, I don't know if I have told you this, but my hairdresser has a business on Foxhall and she has never been notified of this project. And she has off-street parking, but not everyone does.
Also, just the saying that they're in use in Great Britain, they're in use all over the world.
Yeah,
It's
okay.
not just Britain. Yeah.
I don't- I have one comment that might be more subjective and a little bit nitpicky, but I don't know about this. I'm not gonna get into a whole thing about the parking on Foxhall, whatever, but accommodating cars, I kind of feel like that's not CAC E, if that makes sense. It's like we're about open space and we're about pedestrian and cyclism or cyclists. But I feel like the car angle is lost on me.
Oh, well, that's because, I mean, unless you closed off the street, you gotta take cars into it. I mean, we could say,
But that's, yeah,
put in
that's not part of the
everything, which
proposal,
is
so.
sidewalks, cars, bicycles, trees, and other infrastructure, like fire hydrants. So maybe it should just be better worded.
I think it's, I mean, because that's not one of the options, the options are not, it would be wonderful if I think that that was one of the options, was just no cars, but the options all have cars in them. So maybe it's just final plans of how to accommodate sidewalks, green space, and bicycles.
Okay,
I agree.
that sounds great. I'm okay with that.
Word.
Oh, just a minute.
On street should be hyphenated as well. On street parking.
Mhm. So I was just say, usually we would send this letter out. I would send this letter out like 2 weeks before and we could like wordsmith it and then just vote on it, but I just finally got around to it, so. I appreciate your taking your time. You're taking your time to wordsmith this today.
And can we get hold of that other photograph to swap it out?
Yeah, I have it, because what's gonna happen is then I'm gonna have to like put our letterhead in and do all this other stuff
Great,
and
okay.
send it.
Super,
Yeah.
thank
So I just want to make sure everyone's good with, the gist of it, what we're saying, and then we can, then I'll clean it up and add the reference and maybe also just, make sure that there's, do you want to say something about good signage for the roundabout? Maybe that's not, I mean, I don't want to, this is not about the Albany Avenue.
Yeah,
Broadway one.
right. No, I think it's more
Yeah.
of a pressing issue with Albany Avenue, to be honest.
Yeah. So, so let's just finish this and then,
And to be honest, I did some research today on signage for mini roundabouts and they were all horrible. So I need to, some of them were right in the middle of the roundabout, like 5 feet tall, which completely obviates the hump advantages. And, anyway, but yeah, I think the Albany Avenue is the one where there's a really pressing need for better signage.
okay, so is there any, can we move ahead on this with a motion to send the letter as edited and with proposed edits?
I have one more question before. Should we include any information? Because the 2 proposals, I think, were about Flatbush and Foxhall in terms of we say that we didn't come to consensus on the intersection, does that also include, should we include a section that says we didn't come to consensus on?
Oh, on the streets, the rest of the streetscape.
And that's kind of where the conclusion comes from. No?
Yeah, right. Okay,
Also, just on that point, and not to get nitpicky, but on-street parking is in some of the proposals and not in others. And I feel like we could say parking for businesses and homes, but if we say
I see.
allowing on-street parking, that means like we're almost taking a position on one of the proposals.
In other words, the city could put in off-street parking or something. We're not going to suggest that. But-
Yeah, exactly.
Mhm. Okay,
Or just parking.
Just
yeah,
parking.
okay,
Cost.
That's
parking
good.
for businesses and homes. Word.
can we have a motion now to accept as
I
we've
move to-
talked about?
I move to accept.
Thank you. Second?
I'll second.
Okay, thank you, Anita. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, thank you.
Aye.
All right, the next one is the pedestrian master plan. And in terms of Helen's question about better signage at the roundabout at Albany Avenue, there is going to be a pedestrian master plan. That's not going to solve it immediately. But I don't think it's within our purview to suggest that, but I think we could suggest who you could talk to. Yeah, I don't know who you should talk to, but
I'd be very happy to take this up. I really feel strongly about it.
I could expedite that because I'm on the project advisory committee.
yeah. And then,
Right.
well, but would it happen immediately or would you just put it in the master plan?
They're just starting with the master plan. This is a
Yeah.
process.
So I think just talking to someone at the engineering department, or the reason I don't know the jurisdiction is whether or not it's a state highway or because 32 is a state highway and
Mhm.
587 is a,
Yeah, you're getting into issues with that, yeah.
yeah. So I guess, I mean, maybe just talking to the county planning department
Okay.
would start you on the way. And Bob Dennison at the Department of Public Works used to
Bob
work for the Department of, he's on the board of Public Works and he used to work at the state DOT, so he knows a lot. And he's on the board of the Public Works.
Public Works at the county.
No,
No, DPW?
he's the board of the Public Works.
Oh.
Yes, DPW.
The DPW
He's
board.
a commissioner, yeah, or a board member, whatever you call it.
DPW board, okay. I can give you an update on the walking tour we did in Rondat with Barton and LaJudas, the consultants. I met Emily Flynn, we met Barton and LaJudas, we walked pretty much through the Rondat Historic District looking for where there were sidewalks and where it might be missing and hills that would be inappropriate for, would be difficult rather than inappropriate, but difficult for bicyclists. We walked all the way over to where Andrew Wright was going to do that thing over by Mont Repose. Then came back down around, went to President's Place and ended up where we started at Gallo Park. Then I pointed out they had already done the promenade by themselves, the promenade that goes out towards Beale Street that way. facing Island Dock. And then I pointed out the McLaren area where the bulkheads, were studied. And they walked that. There was one part of their team walked that while the others went on bicycles and went down East Strand. And fortunately, it was low tide. They didn't have any problem. And they looked at where the proposed promenade would be if the Weston and Sampson project, whatever happens with that. I've lost track of the status of that project. But they went through that area. And then they went around to the point and took a good look at the Kingston Point, the trolley line, Kingston Point Rail Trail. And they did the actual green line sections of the rail trail, both uptown and downtown. So they were all around, and just on a, sort of like what Dover Cole's doing in the last few days, just gathering as much information as they can. So that's sort of where the status of that is at this point. So I think that's it for that, unless we have questions.
Thank you.
I have a direct contact with them as a result of this, having been on the tour.
There is
So-
also a survey posted at Engage Kingston. for
Yeah,
that project.
right. You can do that as well. Sure. But it always helps that if there's something that you think they didn't read, I, as a project committee person, I can follow it up for the CAC. Or you can contact Emily too. That's the other way to do it. Emily Flynn.
Emily Flynn, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for that report out. So that's, we'll keep watching and we can put our own comments in
Okay.
anytime, right? So, okay, the Ulster County Housing Development Corporation and Golden Hill Development, they had a meet that is otherwise known as the Penrose Project. And Anita attended that meeting, and I just was, and I had attended one. So this is just a report out if you have anyone has anything to say about that. Not sure anyone else attended, I know.
I went to
There
the
was
live,
one-
sorry.
Go ahead, Alan.
I went to the live meeting a couple of weeks ago, and it was extremely poorly attended, and a very angry resident ended up dominating most of the proceedings with the sort of rambling. It wasn't clear in fact what he wanted. I again, coming to this very much off the bat, it felt to me like the developers were presenting two extremely similar plans, broad architectural plans, without really, my impression was that they hadn't really considered what the impact was going to be on the local area in terms of traffic and utilities and all that. So, but again, I was just coming into it without a huge amount of prior research. Perhaps somebody enlighten me as to what the sort of history of this is and why it's being proposed where it's being proposed on the top of a lump of rock, basically, where there's not, on the side of a main road with not much side street access.
Well, that's pretty easy to answer. It used to be the jail. And it's been surplus by the county.
Right, okay.
So
And I gather it's that somebody was saying that that there would be quite a lot of Section 8 housing there, is that correct?
I'm not sure about Section 8.
That issue was certainly raised, but it felt like there was very little community engagement and that nobody was really all that interested, to be honest.
Okay.
So I don't know if we, I guess it's a question of pick your battles, but it didn't feel like a super duper proposal to me. but I, you know, I don't know, you know, I would be willing to go and do some more research on it, but I don't know, is it something that the CAC is particularly concerned about?
Well, I'm going to answer that first and then I'll let other people answer it. And I guess basically we like to make sure that people use sustainable. We actually have a sustainable checklist that we try to go through to look at the proposals. And so some of the things they're doing, which is, you know, leaving a lot of open space and having, you know, rain gardens and treating and handling their stormwater and those kind of things are, you know, what we're looking for.
One
And
thing that,
Okay, thank you. But so one of the, sorry, one of the things that just, sorry, just to complete what I was saying, one of the things that really struck me was that there was a sort of scant, you know, this sort of vague suggestion, but that certainly wasn't firm, that there would be some grocery shops there. And as the plan currently sits, sorry, I've got a lot of clocks in this house, that, you know, from an environmental and sustainability point of view, if you have to get in a car every time you want to buy a pint of milk, that's not good. And it just felt like it hadn't really been built like what effectively is a village, which needs shops, you know, at least for basic items.
well, the presentation that I attended, the one thing that struck me as being related to our mission was that they had taken previous comments about the steepness of the hill between them and the main road, and they had moved the structures they were going to build up off that steep section. So they were now more all on the top of the hill. And they were leaving that all wooded. So they basically weren't tearing down any forest that existed. They were going to use the footprint that was there already, not changing particularly the buildings. There was a loop road, but again, to your point, it looked like there was only one entrance to this development. And they're talking about making it a multi-family kind of thing. They gave two small variations on it, one with the loop road and most of the housing in the middle of the loop road versus one where some of the housing was outside the loop road. But they're also including a number of play areas in the central area. And it seemed to me that housing with the road between the housing outside and the play areas inside would be less desirable than having the housing all inside the loop road. They did comment particularly on the one 3-story building, I believe it is, that's on the steeper side of the area. There was going to be parking under the building to alleviate some of the pressure for parking spaces. What else did they mentioned stormwater management. They're including, they said they intended to use some native planting. And they were including plans for some hiking trails in the wooded area, and maybe some smaller areas out in the wooded area for play areas or something like that. That's primarily what I came away with. They
Are-
did
are-
talk about ensuring public transport. And I too got the impression that they were going to have room for some kinds of shops in the development. But they didn't go in to
Yeah.
discuss that in great length.
Yeah, there was one building that was just labeled as sort of, I think it was business center or something. It looked a bit sort of monolithic. I mean, look, I know we're not going to create a Jacobean village there, but it felt a little kind of sparse in terms of being people friendly.
Are they reusing any of the actual structure foundation, or are the buildings completely new?
I didn't get the impression that they were going to revamp buildings that were already there,
Okay,
with the
Me neither.
possibility of one like the maintenance building or something that was behind the development.
Thank
I
you for
think-
attending, and
Mhm.
both of you, and reporting out. I wanted to ask, probably, oh, Ted, do you have a question?
I was just gonna say that I haven't had a chance to like really learn that much about this yet, although I do have the materials available to me. But it seems like if there was a population down there, it would be an opportunity to improve some both public transportation and bicycle infrastructure, especially where the Empire State Trail fell a little bit short in that area, I would say. And I could see like protected bike lane or something like that there. I think that yes, there's going to be more cars and traffic, but it might be an opportunity to help people who are more far flung in Kingston feel encouraged to not use their cars if it's easy to do. So that's
Mhm.
all.
So I think the process here is that this is a visioning process. It is not in front of the planning board.
It actually is.
It's going to be this week, right? Or soon?
Yeah, it's actually under. old
November
business.
15th. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, okay,
it's number 15, which doesn't sound like they're making too much of a decision, given on past history. You don't put it at the bottom of the agenda usually. Yeah.
So, I guess we've had an opportunity to give just individual public comment. And my point of that was, when do we want to kind of do some written comments? Because we usually do that kind of thing. And so we're following this now, but when would be the point that we would say something?
Let me see if they just did this, put the site plan on the planning board rather than on the county site. That would be yeah, they do have it. They have the environmental assessment form, project narrative, subdivision application. Yeah, we should take a look at this. Yeah.
All right, so
Yeah.
can we do that next time?
Zoning amendment, it would look like it. Yeah, it would look like the agenda the agenda was out like a few days ago, but they just put the meeting documents up.
Okay,
So, yeah, I haven't gone through all the meeting documents, but for those of you that are not familiar with that, if you go to, do you want me to put the link in the chat?
sure. Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be easier than trying to describe it.
So we
just-
should kind of look through this, and you can report out it may be that they withdraw from the agenda at the last minute, or,
Exactly, these things happen. Yeah.
I just want to add that, like, in terms of this committee, it feels like this overall would be a project to be supported. I'm sure there's many considerations because it's big, but I just personally think that open space in Kingston is at a premium, and we
Yeah,
have a short supply of housing. So anything that's repurposing already developed land is pretty great. Like, I'd much rather see that happen there than someone, buy a lot and park and put a housing development there. So that's just my thought.
Usually we just give suggestions overall. We don't get a thumbs up or thumbs down. How,
Mhm.
but, but Julie's looking skeptical, but Julie, can you give us the checklist?
Like share it on my screen?
No, like send us a link so we can look at it later.
Oh, yeah, yep.
I don't think we need to talk about it right now. In terms of the some of the opposition, like Repco had a very similar opposition in the neighborhood for the I forgot the name,
Alms
on
House?
Flatbush and East Chester Street. That is not yet built, but it was the same thing. It was homeless people and it was near a residential neighborhood, and there were lawn
Right.
signs and everything. So that's always, I think that's always going to come up if they Landmark Place, thank you. And they're also the only place to shop is Rite Aid. And there's, I mean, you can go to Rite Aid and then you could go to the Sunoco station or head down to the intersection that we were talking about earlier. The same kind of thing. It's kind of hard to get around and that kind of stuff. So, but that was a Rupco proposal, which is a nonprofit. This is a for-profit group that's been selected to do this development. So, but and then for East, the Meadow. Okay, tell me, what's the name of the Meadows project?
Kingston Meadows.
Kingston Meadows.
Kingston Meadows. We
Yeah.
did object to it because of the same thing. They were putting senior citizens in a floodplain, in a floodplain and without much access to any kind of shopping. So those have always been issues that we brought up, I guess. Okay, so I think Kevin can keep us abreast, and then we should be able to start looking at this information during the next month, and then working on it at the next meeting.
Yeah, I'll throw one last thing about this was which I guess it would normally come up at the end, but since it's the only thing that I could actually hear at the public safety was Council Member Rennie Scott Childress discussing the traffic issues with the Public Safety Committee of the Common Council at the last public safety meeting. So the council members are apprised of traffic issues there.
Oh, and I do want to say that the bus, this CAT bus, I haven't taken in a while, but the UCAT bus, but the bus garage and everything is right up, or the UCAT office is right there in the Golden Hill area, and the bus often goes up there and the buses switch right there. And so there is, there is issues with the bus is going there, and there are some new bike paths in that area. And I just didn't understand if they were also going to come in from, I don't know, the back, what I would call the back way. I don't know the streets, but
I got the impression that they had been thinking about something like that. And when they realized how steep some of the area was
Okay.
that they were looking at, they pulled back from that.
okay. All right.
I mean, I think one of the things that perhaps would be good to take into account in both our assessment of this and other projects is, particularly in terms of housing for the elderly, that electric bikes are, obviously much more of an option now than they ever have been before. And so it does actually give a lot of improved options if we have dedicated lanes for electric bikes or scooters or
That's a good
four-wheel
point.
ones. So even though it is up on a steep hill, I don't think that precludes it being accessible via non-car vehicles.
Yeah, gee, a long time ago, and Julie, you may remember this. We looked at this with Dennis Doyle as an option to bring the Wallkill Valley Rail Trail in. I think we were going up Rockwell Lane and then coming around, and we hiked through this part of the site, the wooded areas. Do you remember this? It was like maybe more than 10 years ago.
I don't remember.
Yeah, and I had a meeting with Steve. Steve was with me. Steve Noble, the mayor. When he was a chairperson of the Kingston Land Trust. We had a meeting with Dennis about the hiking trails and all this around there. But at that point, electric bikes were not a thing. So I mean, it just didn't happen. We just didn't pursue that.
Okay.
With that, that's my last word on
All
Golden.
right, Sebastian's getting tired. We better move on.
Don't look at me. I'm not indicating anything.
They did say that, I was looking back at my notes, they did say they were going to connect to the Hudson, is it the Hudson Valley Rail Trail?
Mhm.
The Wallkill Valley.
I thought it was the Empire State.
The Empire State
The
Trail.
Empire State, yeah, that would be the way to do it. But we were talking about connecting to the Wallkill Valley. That's what I was mentioning years
right.
ago. They could do that too. They could connect to Rockwell Lane. Yes, they could do both.
Well,
It's
that's
just
a good-
incredibly steep. The access would be extremely steep, but they could
Yep.
put it there.
Certainly.
There are clever ways around that.
Yeah.
Well, that's really good stuff. We need to keep following. Does anyone have any other questions, or can we move on to the next agenda item? 6585 East Strand,
6585. Are they?
whatever that is. Pardon?
I have
Well,
one.
we're tracking this, so if there's nothing to say,
Is
we
it
can
on the
just,
agenda? Is 6585 on the agenda?
it's on our agenda. I'm not sure it's on the planning agenda.
Oh, I didn't see it on our agenda. I saw 191 Hurley. Let me go back.
F.
Oh, I don't have any report on 6585.
That's fine.
I'll check the planning agenda again, see if they're back, but.
Okay. Well, we just, because it was on the planning department and,
Yeah, that was a month or more ago.
right, and then it was withdrawn. It was on the planning
Withdrawn.
agenda and then it was withdrawn. So we're just tracking it. It's okay to
Yeah,
just move on.
Yeah, sea level rise would be the issue. I'll just make a note of that.
Yeah, okay.
I will try to keep 191 Kingston Meadows brief. There's some legal maneuvering going on here with the hotel. She sued the Best Western, claiming she's got a right to, this is the developer, Peg O'Leary of Kingston Meadows, claims she has a right to of access through the hotel property out to Washington Avenue. The hotel vigorously defended it. It's got, it's on the court calendar at the state Supreme Court, on Wall Street, the courthouse. But the hotel is having some issues. They do not want to spend a lot of money on legal on this. So they entered into an agreement with the developer to approach the county about a letter of support to in Kingston Meadows, approaching the county to cross the Ulster and Delaware line. That would be the Catskill Mountain Railroad presently, to cross that line to get to the project site. So we'll be back to the original site plan. And they had a determination by the planning board that there was no expiration on the previous site plan approval. So that whatever they had in 2013, if they don't modify the site plan, it may still be valid. If they end up going through the hotel, and then you might have all sorts of other issues. You may have some other issues anyway. I don't know. The planning board will make a determination. So we're just following up on that for the moment, just watching it. I don't know if there's too much to comment on. Again, we've commented on it. The planning board did a neg deck, didn't really consider our comments. So I don't know, other than following it and watching what's going on at the county. They've approached the county before. The county was not receptive on this. We'll see what happens this time.
Okay.
Is
That's
this the senior housing project? You
Yes,
mentioned it's in the floodplain.
yeah, it
Yeah.
affects the O&W rail trail too. And that's a separate lawsuit that she has with the county on that. They're doing an eminent domain, which should be settled sometime soon. But she wanted the county to give her access across the Ulster and Delaware, right? And I believe that the county considered that a quid pro quo that you cannot do in an eminent domain proceeding. And they told her to make a separate application to the county legislature.
Anyway, it's pretty hard to follow
Yeah.
this without a.
Yeah,
without
yeah,
a
it's a
map.
lot of legal stuff, yeah, and political,
It's
sure.
Yeah. It's. All right, great. Thank you, Kevin.
Yep.
And so then the next one, and I guess the one thing we could do if there is a change in anything is we could just resend our letters from a long time ago about 199, 191,
did.
199. We did?
You did.
I thought I sent it on the East Strand. I sent both?
I think that you resent, because I
Well,
know
then
that I sent, I don't know.
Okay,
You
never
can
mind.
resend- Yeah,
Take your moment. Okay. So, all right, never mind.
at this
So,
point,
Unless we send it to you guys to remember, to learn about it. So,
yeah, that we can do. But at this point, they've reaffirmed the neg deck.
yeah,
So there's nothing to comment on. It's a done deal until it isn't. And then
Okay.
when it isn't, that's the time to comment on it again.
okay, great.
No.
Thank you. Okay, then the,
But I would love to see those documents anyway, just to get myself up
Yeah.
to speed. Emily,
Mhm.
thank you.
And there's a final word on that. We don't think she has the funding for any of this.
okay. All right, I'll make a note to try to find the docs, or Kevin could get them.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
so
yeah.
then-
I have the old comments. I think
Yeah.
Julie has the old comments someplace as well. So yeah, we can do that.
And also just a link on the website if they want to look at any if you want to look at any documents. Okay, open space planning, community this is also just to see what, to report out. Any action on the grant or,
So we were awarded the Community Preservation Plan grant. I think I might have let you all know that, but if I haven't, we have been awarded it.
oh, it
And-
is November. Cool.
Yes, so we got it, $50,000. I will be requesting that it is put immediately into next year's budget, so we don't have to do a budget transfer. I am in the process of getting into contract with the state, and which, as soon as that is done, I will need to put out an RFP for a consultant to bring someone on board, because we have to have a final plan by like June or July. So I haven't followed up with folks from the land trust yet. I don't know where they stand. I've talked to Kevin about it, and we know that they're a critical piece to this puzzle. But whether or not the land trust is on board, I still need to move forward with the plan. So, Kevin, have you heard anything, or Ted, do you know anything?
Well, I can tell you, Ted can tell you separately, but there are serious concerns at both the board and the staff that they have the capacity to do this presently. And part of it is their concern that they've never led a political process before. And which this would be, pushing forward a referendum. And they have concerns, and especially if it were to fail. Yeah, that's a big concern. So I don't know, I'll turn it over to Ted.
I don't have really an update because I haven't discussed it with anyone from there in a couple months. But before I left, I tried to make the case that I think if it's successful in the long run, it will be a big win for conservation in Kingston. So hopefully they can find some capacity for that.
And I think that maybe once the process unfolds, there will be more clarity on like what the scope is, what it really means.
Right.
Who should really be involved. So I'm trudging forward. And so I will let folks at the CAC know. It'll be pretty clear when I need assistance with anything and when we need to engage to do something. I'll keep you posted on the agenda with that.
Yeah, likely at the Land Trust, there'll be new board members in 2022 and, likely a new board chair. So the whole dynamics of this whole thing could change. And I expressed the same concerns that Ted did. Ted, sorry, you go right ahead.
I was just going to mention that in my new capacity at Bard Graduate Programs for Sustainability, I have spoke with the director of the Center for Environmental Policy and told her about, this effort, and if she had any students working on policy who might be interested in supporting a referendum project like that. And she said, keep her updated, and they're definitely interested. So there's some capacity there.
That's the Bard Public Policy.
Center for Environmental Policy.
Center for Environmental Policy. Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. That's important.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Besides the land trust, there would also be hopefully a bigger group that would be doing the political aspect. Possibly.
Well, a bigger group of more people, but it's gotta be, there needs to be one champion. And
Yeah,
that
there,
champion can't be the city.
right, okay.
I think when we've had discussions with Christy DeBurr at Walkill Valley, and when they did it at New Paltz, they had considerable support from Scenic Hudson, and I'm not sure that's happening here.
Okay,
I don't have all the details on that. I'll find out shortly from Julia Farr and Sarah Brainerd where that discussion is at.
okay. All right, and so the next agenda item is Norwalk, Connecticut Urban Conservation Mapping Project. I haven't followed up on anything, but we're just using this as a placeholder. And it seems to me, I think it seems to me that if this community preservation plan is ramping up, that we may be really involved in that. Is that your opinion, Julia and Julie and Kevin?
I would think we would be. Yes, Julie?
For us?
That's a
Say that
yes.
again?
That's a yes, Julie?
Sorry,
Well, in the next 6 months, we should be planning on spending a lot of time on the community preservation plan information. Yeah, so.
yes.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah, so if there's anything that we could do like in December to help us get ready for it, is there a speaker or anything like that?
If anyone wants to help pull together the requests for proposals, if anyone wants to be on the review team to review the consultants that will apply, that would be helpful. And then once the consultant is on board, it's going to be about like bringing in all the key players and all the key documents and all the key things. It'll be kind of like the zoning process, bringing folks to the table.
Mhm.
That's what kind of needs to happen first.
Mhm. Would anyone on this, in this group benefit from hearing from someone from New Paltz or someone that, because New Paltz just did this, that's why I'm bringing up New Paltz, or is there anyone else that just, because Julie, I know you've been involved, and Kevin, but maybe the rest of us need some
Yeah.
volunteer. Is there
Um,
anyone you get to speak next in December?
I would just say that I mean, I've been in several meetings with new folks from New Paltz and Scenic Hudson to talk about the New Paltz process. And I think there may be some notes or recordings that I could ask if I could get permission to share. But inviting someone might be a good idea. Yeah, I'll follow up by email after this with
Okay.
some more information.
All right, great. All right, so anything on the water quality septic code from Sebastian?
No, I don't have anything this month.
Right.
Could I ask a question? Do we have many wells in use in Kingston?
We don't think so.
Okay,
We don't think so. But I don't know that we have that mapped.
Right.
okay.
Like,
I just
there-
got in a discussion about wells and drying up wells and that sort of thing, and that sort of goes along with septic in my mind.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, Sebastian, when you talked to Greg, you didn't ask for that data, right?
No, and that was one of the things that what we looked at was specifically water hookups with no sewage hookup. So we weren't even looking at what houses don't have water. Or city water, that is.
Yeah, and there's no regulation in Ulster County or Kingston for well drillers to file like a well log or anything. I don't think there's any inventory of individual wells.
Right.
All right, CAC membership, evaluation and meeting dates, and kind of liaisons to different groups. All right, so we have a nice little group here. We are still looking for members. Including, it's always nice to get some youth, either the college or the high school. But I've never had any luck getting anyone. It's better if we know someone's child or something directly to see if they're interested. Ted, have you had any luck with youth?
Not directly. I mean, the team at the YMCA Farm Project is the most active, involved youth that I'm familiar with, but I haven't done too much of work beyond that.
Okay. Has anyone, are there any other ideas of anyone else we can bring on? Julie put a pitch out yesterday at one of our meetings.
I did at the climate action plan meeting.
Yeah,
Are we asking for a liaison to attend meetings for us and report back?
oh no, that's two different things. So one, we're
Okay.
just talking about members, whether they're
Okay.
youth members or adults. That, you know, because I think one of the things is because of this zoning and the climate action plan, more people are kind of, you know, people have attended these meetings and there may be some people that might want to be involved. I mean, I think we have a great group right now. It's always good to have more. So,
I can also ask at Center for Environmental Policy if if there are any students who actually live in Kingston and can
Mhm.
commit to 2 years. But I'm not sure about that.
Yeah, and we did have one woman that visited one of our meetings, but she's a new professor, so I'm probably pretty sure she's probably pretty swamped. All right, we'll keep an eye out. That's all. And then in terms of evaluation of meeting dates, we usually kind of start thinking about this, whether the second Tuesday is good for everyone, or if we should try to make another meeting. There was one person I spoke to about as being a new member, and he definitely cannot attend on Tuesdays. But how do other people feel going forward if there's a need to have a different date, different standard meeting?
Fine with me.
Well, I was late tonight because I've also got a writing meeting that's meets right before this, so I wouldn't object to moving it from Tuesday, but I've managed
But
to make a meeting here.
We could also just meet at 6:30, and I don't remember why we changed it to 6.
You'll probably notice that for this meeting, I backtracked in my own head like 5 times, and I sent out a 6 o'clock and then a 6:30 and then a 6 o'clock and 6:30. And you'd think that being the chair since 2008, that I would have known what the heck time we meet at. But we, for at least 1 month this year, we met at 6:30, but we had to move it because of something else. But I think that we've typically started the meetings at 6. But previous to that, for like many years, we met at 6:30, I think.
Right, and I don't know why we moved it to 6. If if you just wanted it closer, so you were going from work to this meeting and didn't have much of a gap, or
No, I think it was
There's
because at the
something when
time,
it's-
people like Lynn were very, very tired.
Yeah.
And like it was late because we were having long meetings that were going to like 9
Right.
o'clock. And we were like, well, let's just move it till 6 o'clock. It doesn't matter to me one way or another at this point, but
right. Well, and the other thing is, because we're doing this by Zoom, it's easier than if we're driving or walking or biking to a meeting at, so like for Anita, if you're just Zooming, you don't have any travel time. But, and for people that work, you have to think about that, like, is it gonna be tough for Ted or Sebastian and so on to get to a 6 o'clock meeting?
and we should assume that Zoom meetings will not go on a lot longer.
Yeah.
I know the council is already considering getting rid of Zoom, and so if they do it, it's likely that the mayor will switch to all the meetings being back in person.
Ted,
In which
Ted,
case,
do
you
you have,
also have to be cognizant that we cannot choose another time. Well, right now, the common council is going on at the same time as us.
yeah, we
Typically,
missed but is that because last Tuesday was a holiday? I mean, an election day?
yes, so this is an exception. So typically, it's the case that we don't want to have more than one regular municipal meeting on at the same time. This is an exception because of the holiday. But so I'm just saying that if the consideration is to move to another night, we would just need to consider what other municipal meetings are at other times.
I think staying with Tuesday is a good idea, just.
I sort of like the idea of meeting at 11 o'clock until 1 in the morning at Wednesday. Somehow I got 2 messages saying this meeting was canceled and we were now meeting at 11 p.m. until 1 a.m. on Wednesday morning.
Hey, there's only one way to add more hours to the day, and that's just work 24 hours a day.
Well, I'm often up that late, so.
So do you want to try 6:30? Is it gonna work for most of you better or not?
I work in Kingston, so, and I live
Yeah.
here too. I guess we all have to. The hour break is all right for me between them. Much later, I feel like I'd be like, I don't know. I might be a little bit less on.
Yeah, it's okay for me. 6 o'clock is okay.
So
I would
Anita,
prefer earlier too.
okay. So is Anita, you're gonna be able
We
to
maybe
just
can
maybe
shift
do it?
our writing thing a half hour earlier too, which would work.
Okay,
And I don't have far to go.
right. Okay,
Thanks,
well,
Anita.
that's the thing. We're all City of Kingston residents. But I don't know. I might have to change all my traveling if I have to go in person. So, all right, so then I think we got everything I wanted to do on that. Oh, no, the liaisons. So, I get, so if you look at the agenda, you can see the liaisons that we are doing. And, you know, and Kevin's name is on a lot of them. But
Yeah.
not only are these liaisons, but we also now have the Kingston, what's the word? The advisory panels or whatever you call them. So Kevin's on the pedestrian. Lorraine was on the, no, Lorraine was on
Complete
Flatbush
street.
Foxhall.
Yeah, she did complete streets
She did,
and
and she did.
sidewalks. Yeah, and the
Right, and
sidewalk. thing.
sidewalks. So I'm not asking anyone to take on any of these new ones, but I'm I just wanted to check in with people if there's any interest in going to complete streets or sidewalks. We could use that one.
Sure, I'll do it.
All right, great.
Public safety, I have difficulty with that. Michelle isn't
Right.
here, right? And
Right.
yeah, right. Sometimes she comes, sometimes she doesn't. And I'd have difficulty because I have Climate Smart typically on the same day. And it's a scramble to get out of Climate Smart and go to them. And they've had a lot of tech issues on Zoom.
So what you're saying is you would like so public safety meets the fourth Wednesday
Right.
at 6:30?
6:30 and Climate
Yeah.
Smart meets at 5 and ends.
Yeah, so is anyone
Yes.
able to do that one?
6:30-ish.
And that one, basically what you want to do is you want to get on the agenda right away, say what we've been doing and get out. You don't have to attend all this stuff about everything else they cover.
Right, exactly. And what I can do is give whoever's doing it a draft set of the minutes, just to use as notes, unless you have your own notes, that's fine too. That's so much the better, but I can work with whoever's doing it to do that.
Yeah, to get the minutes so you can
Yeah,
remember.
I've worked with the person at Climate Smart, which is Serena Pepper, to do that, but she had the same technical issues I had with the public safety people on Zoom. It was like, yeah, it didn't go well.
So is there, and I go to the EMC meetings. And I don't
Right,
wanna-
that's a
so-
conflict, right?
So is there anyone, Helen, Anita, or Sebastian, or Ted, that could potentially do that? It's really whether or not you have the time and on that date.
What is the time commitment?
It is,
2
so
hours,
the
right?
Public Safety Committee meets and they cover all sorts of stuff. So you just want to go right at the time that it starts and then leave. I mean, you could stay, but,
And
so
do-
it's It's more like, are you available at 6:30? And do you feel like you could cover what we cover at our meetings?
Right, I'm sorry, when is it exactly?
6:30 on the fourth Wednesday.
That's the next
Yeah,
one
that
is
should be-
at 7. I don't know.
What'd you say?
Says the next one is at 7. I don't know if that's a one-off.
Oh, boy, I don't know. They, yikes, you know, it's chaos. Yeah.
I think since I'm
6:30 or
taking
7.
on, I think since I'm taking on the complete streets thing, I'd like to
Yeah.
make sure I can fulfill
Okay.
that obligation, but I am open to doing the public safety thing. I just don't want to overcommit.
I
Right.
can give it a shot. I mean, I don't know of any conflicts right now. I can definitely choose the next one, so, or
Okay,
go to the
great.
next one. Oh, and I was on the wrong month, so I'm not sure what day it is.
Saying that the next one is on the 23rd, which they must have moved it because of Thanksgiving. So it's on the 23rd at
3rd.
6.
6. No,
What day of the week is the 23rd? Is that a Tuesday?
That's a
Yeah.
Tuesday, yeah.
Yeah, because of Thanksgiving Eve. No one wants to meet on Thanksgiving Eve.
yeah, I can do that one. I think
Okay,
it's the
so you should,
only, it's the
Thank
only
you.
city meeting I've never attended, so. We'll see how it
okay.
goes.
Yeah, well, I'll get you a mock-up set of the minutes, which will be, you know, not approved by anybody, but it'll serve as notes. And then you can.
and then should he correspond directly with the chair of that committee?
Well, you
And
could
let
send,
them-
Emily, you could send Tony Davis a note and connecting him to Ted.
Okay. And just say,
Just so everybody knows, they dropped us right off the agenda last time. And when I did call in, they wouldn't let me in the meeting.
oh, yeah, so that's the difficulty of.
Oh, that
these-
was charming. I got to listen to Rennie talk about the other project, the Golden Hill, but that, you know, yikes. Yeah,
Okay, yeah, so you really want to be on the agenda. You want to be on the agenda first. So I will talk to Tony Davis. And then that's just November. And then I don't know what they do in December. And then there will be new assignments for all these committees coming up after the election. So I'm not sure Tony Davis would be the
right.
chair.
Mhm.
Yeah. So, all right, great, thank you.
Well, I'm
And
willing
then-
to be a liaison for something when that
Okay.
sorts itself out.
Okay, thank you. And as I said, there could be opportunities with the Engage Kingston things
Okay.
as new things come up.
Let me
Right.
just, so Ted, you're gonna go there on the 20, just,
Third.
yeah, 23rd, okay. And who's doing Complete Streets again?
Helen.
Helen, okay.
Oh,
Helen's-
and then I need to tell. I need to tell who, so,
Okay,
right. He's Complete Streets, because he's also Foxhall, and he said they didn't really need anyone for Foxhall, but.
okay.
And
But I'll let
Anita,
him.
didn't you mention you were interested in doing that for the tree commission, or you're following what's happening with this tree commission, or? Am I not?
Yeah,
on that right?
Anita, well, I'm the tree commissioner and I'm the liaison, and I'll try to figure out if I want to stay on or let Anita or have Anita take over.
My sister's on the tree commission.
Right, okay.
So I hear about it whether I go or not.
Okay, that's great. All right. And okay, so I think the next, I was just trying, when is Thanksgiving?
November 25th.
Oh, wow, okay. All right, thank you. Okay, in terms of the agenda, are there any Hutton Brickyard, fencing and wildlife restriction. I put that on because Tanya Garman brought it up. And I'm not sure we want to take it on or not. I didn't read about it. I have nothing to say about it, except that I was reading the law for Saugerties has a new law for solar farms, and they are requiring fencing, and the fencing has to be, there has to be holes like this big for little critters to get through. So like a wooden fence with metal fencing, so it would keep deer out, but it would not keep out the little critters. And so I guess I'm just asking if you think this is within our purview. Is it worth, should we be looking into this?
It's
And
on the
is it a-
planning board agenda as old business coming up, but I didn't see any documents to go with it.
I'd say it is. I mean, critters are conservation as well as plants.
Yeah. So have we missed the opportunity then? If it's on the agenda for next week?
Well, it's specifically to address the applicant's response to wildlife concern, but they didn't post what the applicant's response was. Well,
Wait, who's the applicant? Hutton Brickyard is the
yeah, Hutton
applicant?
Brick.
Oh, so they don't want wildlife in their property?
It doesn't say that. It just says special permit site plan to accept their comprehensive management plan and to address the applicant's response to wildlife concern. But I think when you go to the site, you draw a blank, on the city site, for the planning meeting on that particular project. I'll double check it again. Maybe I missed something.
So what?
Well, if you find it, send it to me
I'm
too.
right there. We'll find it.
Okay.
Or not, very quickly. I mean, I looked earlier in the day and it wasn't there. Let me see what the November meeting documents, choose from the following, 188, 190, nothing. It has it under meeting agenda documents and there's nothing there. The pull down
That
menu.
could just be an oversight. So what do we do? Because we could either try to get a response in between now and the 15th, or we could deputize Kevin when he goes to the meeting. I mean, I am concerned, but I don't, and
Let me see what the date of the meeting is. If I have sometimes I have a conflict on that and I listen to the Zoom afterwards.
oh, I see.
Good. I generally, there's public speaking in the beginning. I think you'd have to actually do that. You have to connect that with Suzanne or Kyla ahead of time. They have a whole process for public comment on Zoom. A whole process for public comment period. They have a public comment period at the start of the meeting. Let me see. They're on. What day are they on here? I just lost.
I thought someone said the 15th.
The 15th, yeah. And I think I have. I think I have Greg Shaheen. I think I have a meeting with Greg Shaheen and the Kingston Land Trust people on the 15th.
Okay, so today is the
Fine.
9th. And what we could do is we could go ahead and work offline and create a letter if there's any information to comment on. In
Yeah,
other words, and if it's off, so does someone have time tomorrow to check in on whether there's documents on the agenda?
well, I'll be checking, but so far nothing. Yeah.
But I mean, just a phone call to Suzanne or to the planning department.
Yeah, I can do that unless somebody else wants to do it.
I could do it
Okay.
if you tell me who to talk to.
Donna, Kyla, or Suzanne, whoever happens to pick up the phone and
At
be
the
there.
planning department, those are the staff members.
Yeah.
Suzanne
Planning
Cahill.
department.
Yeah, Suzanne Cahill is the chair. You probably met her today. Kyla
Yeah.
might have been at the tree commission, Dedea. I don't know how to, Dedea,
Yeah, Kyla was there off and on.
and Donna,
Okay.
what's Donna's last name?
Brady.
Brady, Donna Brady.
Okay, thank you, Nita. And then, but then you need to like say, I got the documents and let's start trying to formulate a response, or like it's no go and we can relax.
Okay, I'll get back to you tomorrow.
Yeah, Anita, it's
Alright.
probably better you do it than I do it because I'm the next door neighbor to Court's Mansion. And that could present a conflict.
Yeah, that's great. Anita will do
Okay.
it. So let's,
Okay.
that's great.
I'm fine with
Yeah.
that.
Okay, so then the next new business is the Nissac meeting. And I attended Kevin, I saw Kevin, I saw Julie. And this again was just a report out. I want to say that we did, so I had fun. First of all, we had this really cool setup called Gather, and it was like Pac-Man or whatever. It reminded me of Pac-Man. That's how old I am. Where we got to move around and go into these little rooms, and if you got up close to someone, you could talk to them, and you could choose anyway. So it was very good. But I think the takeaway for me was I would have liked to learn. I learned, I guess the big take, some of the stuff didn't relate to us, particularly the municipality, our municipality, but the woman who is working on Bitcoin mining up in the Finger Lakes is an amazing assemblywoman. I was really impressed by that and the work she's doing. And I learned a lot from the on zero waste from the and on producer responsibility, extended producer responsibility. But those are for some other things that I was doing. And I did learn about water course and wetland and water course protection, which I think is an important thing for us and for the county EMC, the other towns. So, and I'm not sure how much is on the website. I haven't gone back to look. So,
Yeah, I'm sure all of the presentations will be presented there at the website, but I don't know if they're up yet.
mhm. And I guess they're really trying to help us to, you know, to be a resource for us more. So. And I also wanted to say that I was really surprised by Gardner, because Gardner has had real problems with their conservation commission. They were disbanded for a while and so on. And they actually, some of the members actually spoke at the meeting. So they're really doing some good things. I think they're also working on community preservation. That's just a side. Kevin or Julie, do you have anything to report out on?
I mean, I participated in a composting workshop with Scarsdale, and I presented a workshop on green infrastructure. And I went to the keynote speaker, who was Basil Sagos. He gave a good.
Oh, yeah.
I think he did a great job. I thought the platform was really cool. Yeah, it's a good time. It was definitely. So I've gone to all the NISAC conferences since I was 16, and this was the greatest attended by all means. So there were lots of concerns about how it all went down and the process and the complication of it, but in terms of sheer numbers, that was the most ever.
And they do
Yeah.
have a website.
Yes, it's
NISAC.
basically NISAC, New York State Association of Conservation Commissions.
My notes from this.
Yeah.
There was a film that they presented. I don't know if either Emily, you or Julie saw the film. I think it was called The Sacrifice Sound.
I was
And
not able to see that.
Yeah, I saw it.
yeah, it was about incineration.
Yeah, environmental
Um,
justice. It's an environmental
An
justice.
environmental justice thing in the Ironbound section of Newark, and using that as the example. And then afterwards, people were discussing the Wheelabrator plant in Peekskill and how it adversely impacts Westchester County. And then someone from Onondaga County was discussing, I think it was Wheelabrator also, or no, it was the same corporation that was in Newark. They were discussing them as being a little bit less problematic there. But whatever it is, it's still spewing, yeah, into the atmosphere, yeah, pollutants,
Yeah, so they're talking about waste incineration.
waste
And-
incineration, and recapturing energy through it. That was, and the company was accused of, or all of these companies that do this sort of incineration thing were accused of greenwashing. Like they would
And
have their
yeah.
PR people come and, tell you how, we're recapturing energy and doing this and doing that. And meanwhile, people are getting asthma outside in the neighborhood. So, yeah.
Yeah, and the closest one to us is at is next door to IBM Poughkeepsie.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah, that wasn't discussed at all. I don't know.
no, but it just in terms of
Yeah,
just letting you know that that's where
Yeah.
the one is, and
Yeah.
and anyway, there haven't been any built in a long time in New York State.
Right.
All right, well, thanks for attending those. I thought there was a good resource and some really good talks. Any communications? All right, any announcements or events?
I do just want to say that most of you should already know this, but we did release the draft climate action plan on Friday, and comments are being accepted until the 22nd. And I highly recommend that you look at it and provide comments. It's at engagekingston.com. The draft is there. The videos are there of the presentation. And you can submit comments right there on the website.
Yeah, and I apologize for not putting it on the agenda. So, but I did anyway. Yeah, and there was, I attended the evening meeting last night, right? Was it last night? And one of the things I really noticed was that there were very personal questions that people were asking about their own homes. And so it really points to the need to make sure that to do the education, because they were asking questions about things that the programs already exist and they could already be using those programs. And so it was good that they, came out and they saw that. Yeah, so please take a look there. It's on Engage Kingston. Also, the rezoning had a survey besides giving comments.
You
And
got a bunch of comments from me already, I think,
good. For the climate action or for the rezoning?
for the climate.
Yeah. Oh, great. All right. Thank you for doing that. Okay, and then, so no other announcements or events? I can't think of any. Okay, so let's kind of zip through this reports because it's 8 o'clock. Nothing on complete streets. That was planning board liaison. Kevin, do you have anything besides what we've already talked about?
Let me just open it up again. I don't think there's a whole lot, but let's see what we have here. So we covered that, we covered that, we covered that. I think we covered most of the big ticket items. I think that's, yeah, I think we're good. I think we're good. Yeah. Mostly special permit renewals. Yeah, nothing major, other than what we've already covered. So move on.
Okay. Public safety, we've kind of covered that, right? Zoning committee. Kevin,
Well, I think we've covered that
Yeah.
elsewhere at this meeting, right?
and Climate Smart Kingston, which is kind of separate than the climate action plan is a
We
part of the Climate Smart Kingston.
gotta pull open the minutes from that and go through it quickly. Here we go. Minutes from October 27th. Okay, very quickly, I think, well, the climate action plan, that was, the most important thing. I think we've covered that here. We were discussing refrigerants again. That's been an ongoing discussion there, what to do with discarded air conditioners, refrigerators, and the like. And coming up with a city policy on this. And one of the commissioners commented that a chain of custody regarding appliances may need to be included in a refrigerant plan. So we're trying to develop a refrigerant plan and policy. And I believe that Ellie Gartenstein may be working on this,
Oh, great.
along with Dan Smith and Maya Nemisto and Jessica Cronin, all our commissioners over there. Julie ran us through various city sustainability projects. Discussing the flooding, some of the high tide flooding, that was one discussion. Playgrounds still need to be installed down at the point, but most of the work is done. Block Park is now complete. The community preservation plan was discussed, which we just discussed here. EV charging stations, the grant applications have been submitted. Let's see, Julie did a tour with the US Geological Survey of green infrastructure at various places in Kingston and the uptown parking lots.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I don't know if you want to mention anything on that, but Julie.
Yeah, we walked all of Broadway and Kingston Point and the uptown lots
Right.
with 3 folks from the USGS who are doing a monitoring program in Buffalo, and they wanted to see what our green infrastructure practices look like. They were very, very impressed. They said we have better than Buffalo infrastructure, but they want to help us to set up a system to monitor the efficacy of them. So
Great.
yeah, super exciting.
And let's see, Melissa Ayasheta just reported on the last repair cafe. And I think I had the date of November 5th, which I think she's changed to November 12th. I think she just sent us all a flyer on that. Yeah. Do I have that flyer handy?
Is everyone aware of what the repair cafes are?
It is.
No,
Anita is not.
Oh, that's interesting. Well, I don't want to
Yeah.
keep here all night discussing it, but it's, yeah, people get together and there are people that come with broken things. There are people that fix them for them. And there's always coffee, so hence it's a cafe, and it's a great event to attend. The late John Wackman was the key person behind this. And he was really wonderful and did amazing stuff with it. And it's a loss, a real loss to the community.
And he wrote a book about it.
And he, just before he passed away, the book,
His book was published.
there was a media thing. I think I even have it on his interview on NPR. I saved it. So, yeah.
Yeah.
John
So
was
it looks
wonderful.
like the next repair cafe is November 13th.
13th, from 11 to 3 at Redeemer
And
Lutheran.
it's at Redeemer Lutheran, which
Right.
is down on Wirtz. It's on Wirtz. 11 to 3, and you can as you know, there's usually things like, bring your lamps in, clothes for sewing, repair computers, there's someone welding. Lots of good things. So check it out.
It's free.
It's free.
Yep.
Yep.
There were some solar discussions about community choice aggregation and solarize. And Ellie reported on NYSERDA funding applications for the solar installation at the Murphy Center. Yeah. I don't know, Julie, if you want to
What's going
add
on?
anything to that.
We received an award through the NYSERDA for being continuing to be a clean energy community. We're going to be putting we're going to be covering 110% of the energy in my office building here at the Annie Murphy Center with a rooftop solar system. And that will be in by certainly before the end of 2022, hopefully by summer.
That's great.
And I think Betta Broad, who's one of our commissioners there and used to be one of our commissioners here, or council members here rather, she presented a letter regarding equitable building electrification. I have a link to that if anybody wants it. I could throw that in the chat. And I think that probably covers us for Climate Smart Kingston.
All right, thank you. I just wanted the anti-idling bill or law, does that come into effect on July 1st?
January 1st.
That's what I meant, January 1st, yeah.
Yes.
So, great. So hopefully we'll see some activity on that. And I also missed the announcement. I probably already said it, but don't forget tomorrow night is the wrap up of the zoning information. The zoning kind of a wrap up of everything they've done. And I'm really impressed by those guys because I think they have really, they must be really tired. So, and everyone who's been attending them, and have really strong bladders, I think. So anyway, and then, Ulster County Environmental Management Council, we had a speaker from Cornell Cooperative Extension that, I'm sorry, I always get her name wrong, Melinda Herzog, who spoke on how the effort for Cornell Cooperative Extension to work on the Climate Smart Resilience Planning Tool, which I think we did a long time ago. And I already mentioned this once, I think before, is that Esopus is looking at a bat study, and I'm putting it on my agenda to maybe hear from them, because if they're looking at bats, it's pretty much the same area that we should be looking at bats, and I'd like to see what they're doing. And other than that, I don't have anything to report out on that. Their meeting minutes are published. But also I do want to say that this county is going to do a natural resources inventory for the county, which will hopefully help all the other towns that don't have natural resources inventory yet. Anyway, and that's all. So, and then tree commission, then Anita, is there anything else that was covered? That
I don't think so.
Okay.
That's pretty much got that already.
All right, great. Anything else?
Good.
All right, well, thank you for all your time. It was 2 hours and 15 minutes. So thank you so much. And have a good week. And we'll hear back from Anita about the wildlife barrier and
Yeah.
anything else that,
Yeah.
and thank you for volunteering for other activities. Maybe I'll see you tomorrow on the Zoom.
Mhm.
Okay, good night.
Thanks a
Thank
lot.
you.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
We're
Bye.
supposed to wait. We have to have a motion to close.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor?
Bye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Bye.
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 Adjourn at 8:14.